Welcome back to the video. So, hope you all are enjoying the first day of Shadowverse Evolve, releasing this video on release day, so it's really hype here. Excited to see a lot of people get into the game, but today's video we're going to be talking about a post that was put on the deck section of the Shadowverse Evolve website, which are talking about beginner-friendly decks for Booster Set 1 Advent Genesis. Basically like a nice sample deck for people to get into the game and a lot of some of the preview of what the classes are projected to be. So we're going to take a look at this, see what stuff that I would personally overall change, and see also what you all think down in the comments below. So we're going to start off here with the first deck, which is Forestcraft, which is actually my main, funnily enough. So Forestcraft over here is utilizing a Rhinoceros focused deck. This is actually one that I am overall excited for because Rhinoceros was really fun to play overall in the first time doing set 1 when I was playing it in the Japanese format. But the deck is basically revolved around the use of Rhinoceros and a lot of different uses of cards played, so it wants to help meet with combo conditions. Stuff I would definitely like to highlight is that Rose Queen is surprisingly not in the deck. Rose Queen is a higher cost than Aria, but is a essential legendary. And I think the main reason why too is because it's a little bit of a risk overall, especially if you don't have a built-up EX area. But I think with the hybrided fairy utilization that we see, especially in this deck, I think that would be overall fine to go throw in Rose Queen. So I think it's for the ratios overall is pretty nice. I would say I like to highlight one card in particular that I would definitely change out of this would be Elf Wanderer. The main reason why I personally do not prefer to use Elf Wanderer is mainly because this card main usage is Assail, which can be a double-edged sword usually, especially with the overall stat line being 2-3. Notably though, you could potentially use this in to go take out more of the smaller pieces potentially, but overall I don't think that Assail is going to be like as super impactful, but I think it's a good overall use. But overall with this Rhinoceros focused deck, I think it's pretty good overall, and as you see the Evolve deck over here, you could limit the numbers of Rhinoceros honestly, and you could go add in some different forms and stuff to flex on your Evolve deck. So you have a lot of that nice flexibility within a deck like this. So that's what I overall think of the Forestcraft deck over here. The next class we're going to be looking at is Swordcraft. This deck specifically is focusing on a lot of plussing. Notably, this does not have two very impactful cards, which is Sea Queen Otohime, which is used to summon different Otohime's bodyguard tokens, which are necessary for use of warding. And I also don't see Royal Banner here, which is really surprising because I really think that the big success for Royal or Swordcraft would be to utilize a lot of the Storm. I think it's going to be a thorough popular build and take advantage as Dragoncraft looks to be heading in the best deck within this format. So it's a bit surprising to not see some of those overall choices, but I think that this is also pretty solid use over here. You got stuff like the normal use of Tsubaki and also stuff coming in like Floral Fencer, which gives a lot of different pluses. And also what's talking about here is Pompous Princess, Alwita's Command, and Novice Trooper, which Novice Trooper, as you can see, is a Storm use card. This is also really good for plopping stuff down and immediately playing them. I think that it's going to be a good use of Storm throughout this entire class, and I actually really like the use of a lot of the Evolve decks. You could definitely switch out Goblin for something else, but I think you could probably take in Bellringer here or such. But I think overall this is pretty nice use of the Evolve deck. Quick Blader at 3 looks pretty thoroughly flexible. Some people have it at 2, but it's up to you with their choice. And then Floral Fencer, of course, being a max, being the main use card because it helps get a lot of your plussing on the field with Knight and Steelclad Knight. So definitely that's something to look out for when coming into Swordcraft. The next one over here is Runecraft. Of all the decks, I really think that this has the potential to have a lot more different flexibility depending on how you build upon the deck. This deck's focus is mostly on the use of stuff like Merlin and also utilizing your spell chain use. There's a lot of different cards that do that tier. The Golem right here is a very good example with the use of spell chain, with spell chain 15. But you have a lot of different areas you can honestly play this deck. I think that there's a lot of nice flexibility within Runecraft. Something I definitely do want to note is that I feel like Dimension Shift, which comes out in the first set, is going to be super valuable to have in this deck. It's basically banish 10 spells and you can get an extra turn. So you basically lock your opponent out, and that could be potentially for good use of game. It's really surprising to see that not plopped into here, but I also would definitely recommend that this deck does not have to be just 40 cards. If you play stuff like Fate's Hand, Bellringer Angel, Harness Glass, a lot of different other draw usage, maybe even draw discard uses, then I definitely think that this can go stretch up to probably up to 45, which I think is the main sweet spot for the deck if wanting to go a bit over 40. But overall, I think that this is still not bad of use too, but this is also more spell chain focused as we see over here. The next class we over here is Dragoncraft, looking to be one of the more popular classes too, not just as it's like very good. We have a lot of uses of the main unit that everyone likes to focus on, which is Dark Dragoon Forte, which this one of course has Storm, and it's pretty good use too if you want to play something that can get a lot of the main buff units. You see a lot of the curve over here plays a lot of heavier cost, but that's definitely the main point within Dragoncraft is the main capitalization of Dragon Oracle. So I definitely would highly recommend picking up the starter deck for this. This looks to be arguably one of the best starter decks. And a lot of the main shapes and sinks within Dragoncraft is going to be thoroughly successful. But I will say, though, I am really surprised to not see Shenlong added into the deck. This card, we actually did a video about it, and it's one of the most impactful cards heading into future metas of Shadowverse Evolve. We don't know if we're going to get potentially the hidden English, but I really think that that's a pretty good addition use, especially to get +5 health onto your leader and to survive a lot of the main long game too as well. But as I said earlier within Swordcraft, its weakness though is the overall rush game, so definitely keep track of that if any of you are looking to play in some of these tournaments in the future. Second to last deck we have over here is call it Bloodcraft over here. It's actually Abysscraft. I wish it was called Bloodcraft, but as someone who played Bloodcraft in the CCG, it's funny to go see that over here. But the main use of this focuses on Necrocharge, which is the mechanic to look at the overall cemetery. You have a lot of different ways you can do that, especially that you can go a bit more of a faster game. I feel like Abysscraft gets better within the next set because you can play a lot of thorough aggro, and then even gets even better with the Ghost variant heading into set 3. But I think that this is overall nice and solid. It does utilize stuff like Queen Vampire and of course Cerberus, which helps get a lot of free tokens with Mimi and Coco, as you see the explanation right here. And I definitely think that it is really impactful to get the advantage of aggro with this format, because a lot of people are going to be looking at more of the slower decks, but I definitely think that aggro is definitely the way to go within the sets to definitely counteract more of the tops. So I highly recommend checking out either this or Swordcraft, honestly. I actually like the nice spread over here with Cerebrum being at 2, not 3. It seems a little bit more excessive with it. And play stuff like Lilith too, which is really cool to see as someone who's played since set 1 of Abysscraft. So it's pretty cool to see on that too as well. Finally, we have the last class over here, which is Havencraft. Honestly, if you want to play a nice use of control deck, I think that this is honestly really good. You have a lot of different uses of answers. For those of you who played Shadowverse Evolve previously or are getting into the game now, if you like from other TCGs the main control playstyle, this is definitely your class. And I think what's also impactful is that this starter deck for Havencraft is heavily long lasting. I think that Havencraft has a lot of nice uses from the starter deck that transition into a main deck overall, and you take advantage of that as the next few sets you have a lot of the main thorough key answers. You'll get some more even better answers over time, but overall Haven has nice usage and good carryover with some of the quicks that play and play points carrying over. This specific class's main focus will be on Jeanne d'Arc, as you will see over here. It helps deal damage onto the field and also buff a lot of your defense. So if you love heavy defense or like play slower play styles and more play reactionary as well, this can definitely be a good class to definitely get into. So this is definitely something cool that you can go take a look. A lot of uses of quicks and answers with a lot of the spells too. So if you like more of the control thorough aspect and probably don't want to be like a lot of spell spamming like Rune does, I heavily recommend Havencraft. So when we take away from looking at the sample deck over here for all 6 of the classes, I definitely think that there is more stretch of a lot of different archetypes and main styles that haven't been thoroughly explored but have been heavily noted in past set 1 testing, especially if you played Japan first. I think there's a lot of thorough missing cards that are heavily impactful. I was more surprised to see that Shenlong is not in the deck, for example, which is one of the heavy carry cards for Dragoncraft. But I think thoroughly as a sample deck, this is a pretty nice beginner usage. It doesn't have a lot of thorough spam. I would also like to see a lot more neutrals being added within. You have a lot of different reaches stuff like Lucifer. Hell, even I didn't see many Bellringer Angel utilization, which I don't think is even one if I'm not mistaken. But I really think that's a good amount of classes can benefit with Bellringer Angel because there isn't a lot of removal chances to stop the last words draw card, and the use of ward is really, really good. So that's definitely some stuff that I would like to see some improvement on within beginner-friendly decks post like this. Can't wait to see the second set, see what they have potentially cooking up as sample decks, but really excited to see what you all are building. Feel free to let me know in the comments below. What are you planning to build? And what do you think of all the different sample decks that are provided too? I'll put a link on this in the description. Other than that, thank you all for joining in. Continue to darkness, and we will see you all in the next video.